welcome to Love and the Planets for the week of February 26, 2018. I'm Armand Diaz in New York.
And I'm Margaret Gray in Dublin.
Go.
Yes, who's got it going this week? I mean, goodness. I mean, we've had so much Neptunian energy, and there's quite a lot going on, isn't there, Armand? It's almost like last week we had a week where we were floating around, and it was lovely and romantic and daydreaming and so on. And this week we've got the Virgo full moon, and we've got, Venus sextile Pluto, and we've got just so much happening. I mean, what's your overall sense of the energies for relationships this week?
Okay, we have the Virgo full moon, which is, it's a time to sort of think about where you're going with the year, what your little plans are, what your projects are going to be and stuff like that. It's a very earthy type of energy. And then we have all of this Piscean stuff, Venus in Pisces. It's going to be sextile to Pluto, trine to Jupiter, and it's a little bit more dreamy. And I think a little bit of what we had last week is repeated, where there's this kind of stop and start type of energy. There's this kind of, you want to have stuff on the ground and go, but on the other hand, we're not quite there yet. It is, we're still in the midst of Pisces. The sun is in Pisces, going to be meeting up with Neptune at the end of the week. So, it's this energetic time, but on the other hand, it's a little hard to get traction.
Yes, it really is. And thinking of that, full moon in Virgo, and we can go back to, the Venus sextile Pluto, because it kind of runs in really from the beginning of the week into the Thursday, Friday full moon, depending where you're at. And I think what's interesting is there's this whole theme, of course, that comes up about, sacrifice. So I so agree with you, Armand. I think, this Virgo full moon is very interesting because, of course, it kind of brings with it as well the energy of the Venus sextile Pluto. And I think, one of the core themes for relationships, I think, whenever we have this opposition between Virgo and Pisces, is that whole theme of service versus sacrifice. And I think it's even more emphasized this time because the sun is conjunct Neptune. So there's really this strong pull towards merging, towards, unconditional love, all those lovely things towards romance. But also there's the moon saying, yes, but you've also got to be a little bit discerning. Don't get lost. Don't lose your identity. Don't lose your sense of self. And I think that's really one of the key themes this whole week in relationships, about how do we maintain our sense of self? How do we, and yet also, give way into love and be able to be there for someone?
Well, I think Mercury will help us with that. Mercury is the ruler of Virgo, and Mercury is squaring Mars this week. And I feel that among other things, with it being the full moon, and it's the same thing is always true for every full moon. It's people are reacting emotionally. There's lunacy. It's Virgo, and we think contained, but it's the full moon, and so it's not so much so. And I think what we're going to see a lot of this week is people saying what's on their mind.
That's so true. And I think really to think about how that's been said, because with so many emotions around, that it's not easy to take words back once they've been said. And I think we can really forget that and the impact that has on relationships. So absolutely, to really be maybe just a little bit cautious, because emotions are floating around. And, maybe to think about what is it that we would love to say to somebody that is actually something nice. It doesn't have to be that we blurt out something that's really, that's hurtful. So, yes.
Interesting ideas. Interesting. I should write this down. It very much, and I think that with Venus sextile to Pluto and trine to Jupiter, I would say that it's not an impossibility that we'll say something nice, that we'll be feeling something nice to say. It could be, for those of us that are in a fairly good spot, it could be a pretty nice full moon week.
It could, and there could be quite a bit of passion, because the Venus is still squaring Mars. So, and it's sextiling Pluto.
It's Virgo, Margaret. There'll be no passion.
You know, if it were Christmas, I would say that's what the Grinch would say, Armand. But since it's not Christmas, I'm not so sure. But
It's
something
just
the
me.
equivalent of that. It's just you, absolutely. Well, moving swiftly along, we've got, what can you say about the Sun conjunct Neptune? Because to me, that's really about, you know, really connecting with our higher self, wanting, you know, that spiritual connection with somebody. And indeed, maybe it'll bring lots of people in for, you know, for the call out that we put out for our research on twin souls and relationships, because really this very much connects up with that spiritual twin soul connection.
It'd be very, very appropriate to do so because the Sun Neptune, at best, is very spiritual. We could sometimes make heroes and demons out of ordinary folks with Sun conjunct Neptune. There is a sort of overblowing of things, but if you can get past the sort of ego level, there's a lot of depth there. Again, this week is a week, I think, that there's a lot happening, but we always have to keep in mind that, we're not at Aries yet. We're not at that real go forward green light yet. We're revving up, but we're not quite sure where we're going and how we're getting there.
That's true. And just to mention that, of course, you know, we've also got Venus conjunct Chiron. So to keep in mind that may bring up some old feelings, maybe unresolved feeling, but it can help us to clear out, you know, anything that's kind of left there and lingering. So by the time we do get into Aries, and not that I'm biased about Aries, but of course I do think it's the best time of the year, I think really we'll kind of be fresh and ready to start and launch into something.
That's part of the job of Pisces, and that's part of the job of everything that's happening this week, is clearing out. We've been saying about clearing out and letting go and all of that for a while, but that is what happens at this time of year. That is what happens as we go through the Piscean season, and even the Aquarius beforehand. It is a time of clearing out. It is a time of letting go so that we can sort of start fresh. It's sort of a spring cleaning type of thing.
It is, and also don't forget that it's also time to use our imagination. So to imagine what we want in a relationship, what would we like? Because this is the kind of seeding time, and the full moon allows us to clear out and start, planting new seeds, so that then in Aries season, we can go and get it.
Sounds like a plan.
See you next week, Armand.
Bye-bye, Margaret.
Bye-bye.